Okay, now I should be audible. That's fun. Okay, so now all the kinks are worked out. After 3 minutes. Not too bad. Okay, so just check. Will that work? Yeah, we're gonna have to wait a couple minutes. I apologize. This is frustrating to me too. Yes, it works. Huzzah! All right, and I think I can exit that out because the chat is over here. Okay, so I have decided that I'm going to start streaming, and what I used to go is I used to, and I'm technically still doing it. I used to go over news articles, uh, just like AP news articles or major news articles that sort of caught my attention. Stuff from ProPublica, stuff from 404 Media, and I liked doing that. I liked doing that, and I've decided that instead of just doing shorts, I'm going to be doing them vis-a-vis live streams. Vis-a-vis, is that how you use that phrase? No one has ever told me. So, that's what I'm doing. This is a test. This is a test so I can go back over it and work out some kinks. You'll notice currently there is a blank spot over here. There's a black spot. There's a big black bar over here. That's not going to be there. Hopefully tomorrow. There are still some pictures that I want to take, some short videos I want to shoot to like fill the ambience. And when I transition, there's going to be the bar over here is going to be a bit larger, and there's going to be another one up here. Well, more like over there. You'll see. Those are going to be filled with other things. It's not going to be empty when, like, I'm ready. This is a test. For all two people watching. Huzzah. If you're watching this, say hello in chat. I wonder. I'm going to re-pull this up on my phone. Just real quick, give me a couple minutes. Someone named Sandra. That is a control panel. And I'm looking for the chat. It's fine. Sandra. I've been very busy in real life doing like activism stuff. It has been exhausting. Maybe I'll talk about that sometime. But yeah, let's look at this article. This is an article by Corbin Trent. He's with America's Undoing. It's a Substack. The article is called "The Right Builds Power, the Left Hosts Rallies, That's Why We Lose." And I have a bit to say about this. This was recommended to me by a longtime member of the Democratic Party and a longtime union guy named Jim Dixon. He's a local guy. He's been around. He's like 80 years old, I think. A very old dude, very set in his ways. But he's also like incredibly pro labor. And so but I have some thoughts about this. It's not wrong per se. It's just like Uh, it's wrong-headed. But let's go over it. Let's read it. Let's see what it has to say. So, it says Bernie Sanders is back on the road. He's touring the country in an anti oligarchy crusade, warning that billionaires are running the show and that we, the people, need to fight back. AOC is with him. They're telling crowds that oligarchy isn't just a looming threat, it's already here. They're right. But we've seen this movie before. I know. That's Corbyn. Corbyn knows because he was in it. Again that's Corbyn, left my small business in 2015 to join Bernie Sanders' first campaign. I traveled the country organizing volunteers, developing what would become Barnstrom organizing model that fueled his movement. When Bernie lost, I co-founded Brand New Congress and later Justice Democrats, the group that recruited and helped elect AOC. I was in her campaign. I was in her office. I sat in the meetings where we had to decide. Do we go to war with the Democratic Party or do we try to work with them? We hesitated. And in hesitation, politics is death. And hesitation in politics is death. That's why I'm watching this new Bernie tour with something between frustration and dread. It looks like 2016. It looks like 2020. And it looks like it's heading towards the same dead end. Inspiration without infrastructure. Bernie and AOC are incredible at inspiring people. No one doubts that. They can pick out venues, light up social media, get people fired up about fighting the billionaire class. They can name villains, they can diagnose the problem, but they won't build the machine we actually need to win. That's the difference between us and the right. The Federalist Society didn't just whine about the Supreme Court. They built a pipeline to pack it with ideological soldiers. The Koch network didn't just complain about taxes. They built a decades-long plan to rewrite policy at every level of government. ALEC, that's the American Legislative Exchange Council, literally drafts model legislation that Republicans pass into law state by state. AIPAC doesn't just throw money around, they build political machines that destroy their enemies and protect their allies. All those groups have something else in common, but we'll circle back to that. And what do we do? Bernie is out here holding town halls, talking about how AIPAC's money is flooding campaigns without building anything to counter it. Where is our version of the Federalist Society? Where is our machine for recruiting and backing candidates? Where is the progressive institution that strikes fear into politicians who sell out? It doesn't exist. And that's the problem. The next section is titled, The Revolution That Never Built Anything. I saw it happen before. After Bernie lost in 2016, thousands of people, myself included, answered his call to get involved. We built Justice Democrats and Brand New Congress to recruit and elect progressives who wouldn't take corporate money. We thought Bernie would have our back. He didn't. Justice Democrats recruited 12 candidates that first cycle. One of them was AOC. And for a moment... Hold on. And for a moment, it looked like we were actually going to build something. AOC began her congressional career boldly challenging the Democratic establishment. She sat in Nancy Pelosi's office with climate activists, called out corruption, and backed primary challengers. She's consistently been one of the few voices pushing the party towards genuinely progressive politics. Operating within Congress, she's had to make strategic choices about how to be effective. She's working within a system designed to resist change, trying to reform it from the inside, which is incredibly difficult work. She's building relationships and working to move the Democratic Party in the right direction. The challenge isn't about her commitment or effort, it's that even the most dedicated and individual lawmakers can't transform the system alone, no matter how brilliant or tireless they are. The structures of power are designed to absorb or neutralize individual challengers. We're going to come back to that too. Even someone fighting as effectively as AOC within the system needs a movement infrastructure outside of it, pushing in the same direction. She's doing her part inside the halls of power, but she needs reinforcements. And Bernie has spent his entire career fighting the far right. Bernie has spent his entire career fighting the right fights, pushing for Medicare for all, labor rights, and an economy that works for working people. But his theory of change is wrong. He believes that if you get enough people mobilized, enough pressure applied, enough public support, then eventually politicians will have no choice but to bend. But the right doesn't just pressure the system, they take it over. They don't just inspire, they build. They build institutions, candidate pipelines, think tanks, and enforcement mechanisms that ensure power flows towards them, no matter who wins the next election. That's why, even though the majority of Americans support progressive politics, those policies never get passed. That's why Bernie, despite changing the conversation, never changed the power structure. The next section is titled, Oligarchy is Here, We're Just Watching. Trump, Musk, and the billionaire class aren't consolidating power in secret, they're doing it in broad daylight. The Supreme Court is owned. Congress is gridlocked. The media is fractured and captured. And what is our side doing? Holding more rallies? Hoping a few more town halls will be enough? When Chuck Schumer caved on the latest spending bill, we needed a coordinated progressive response. Not just from individual lawmakers who are already fighting daily battles with Congress, but from a powerful external movement infrastructure that could mount primary challenges and hold Democratic leadership accountable. The kind of coordinated progressive power structure doesn't exist. Individual progressive representatives can only do so much from inside the system. They need external leverage to truly change the power dynamics. We'll come back to that. The next section is titled, We Don't Even Have an Alternative. I feel like I should be able to use my keyboard to... There we go. The progressive movement isn't just lacking infrastructure, it's failing to offer a comprehensive alternative vision for government. Right now, the entire spectrum of the Democratic Party runs from free market capitalism with no rules to free market capitalism with a lot of rules. No one is talking about something different. No one is talking about how we built the New York City subway with a city-owned company, how the government took over factories in World War II to produce machines, how DARPA, NASA, and public investment created the tech boom that Musk and Bezos cashed in on. Instead, even our most progressive voices almost often limit their critiques of capitalism to regulatory frameworks rather than presenting a vision where the government actively builds and creates. The alternative isn't just more regulation, it's a government that actually builds. The next section is what real power would look like. The progressive movement has demonstrated it can raise significant money when motivated. AOC's campaign showed the power of grassroots funding by raising $20 million for a House race in a single cycle without corporate PAC money. Bernie raised $250 million in his presidential runs from small donors. We'll circle back to that. That is a very important point. Arguably the most important point. They've proven they can raise money. They've proven they can mobilize people. They've proven they can generate energy and excitement. But they only flex this muscle during election cycles, which is madness. Real progressive power would look like a year-round operation that doesn't disappear between elections, a candidate recruitment and training pipeline that identifies and prepares progressives to run for office at every level, a media arm that competes with right-wing outlets and shapes the narrative, a funding apparatus that rivals AIPAC and the Koch network, policy shops that write model legislation like ALEC does, legal organizations that fight for voting rights and challenge corporate power, leadership development programs that prepare the next generation. This isn't impossible. The resources are there, the talent is there, the money is there. What's missing is the will to build something that lasts beyond a news cycle or a campaign. If not them, who? That's the next section. If not them, who? Bernie could turn this tour into the foundation of an actual political machine. The progressive movement, not just Bernie or individual lawmakers who already have their hands full fighting within the system, need to build infrastructure to identify and support candidates who can replace obstructionist Democrats. This is bigger than any individual. It requires an ecosystem of organizations working in concert with dedicated funding and professional staff. Why? Fear of Democratic leadership? A belief that power should purely be bottom up? I don't know. But I do know this. We can't afford to wait for them to change. The lesson of the past decade is clear. Progressives win when we build. We lose when we just inspire. Bernie and AOC's calls to action are for people. Bernie and AOC's call to action is for people to get involved. But involved in what? Right now, there is no alternative. If we want one, we have to build it, because waiting isn't a strategy, it's surrender. Okay, so that's a whole article. And the first thing that I want to point out, right? It isn't it isn't entirely clear from the text, but like this paragraph here is the entire basis on which everything rests. The progressive movement has demonstrated it can raise significant money when motivated. Everything here depends on raising more money. The problem with that is that if you're saying that it's possible or that we need to raise more money than the billionaire class, you're insane. Like not you are disconnected from reality. And capitalism isn't going to fix things, right? We tried that. We tried that with Clinton. We tried that again with Obama. The far right just gets into things, worms its way into things, and transforms it into something destructive. Money isn't going to solve our problems. I also want to comment on some of these points here. I have observed several different candidate recruitment and training pipelines. I'm I do stuff in real life, activism related and not activism related. I am aware of actual leftist groups that are doing that. A media arm that competes with right wing outlets and shapes the narrative. There are several of these, although, like, again, the problem with having a media arm is that money. It's about money. Fox runs everywhere because it pays people to put them on their TVs, right? In some instances, not in every instance, but in some instances. CNN used to do the same thing. I don't think they do anymore. And then you have outlets like OAN and other Breitbart, other outlets even to the right of Fox News. But these are countered by, like, there's Breakthrough Disruptors is a group that I'm aware of. They actually tried to get me in on their thing a couple years ago, right before my brother died. Uh, it was bad timing. Uh, you've got, like, the network of leftist streamers that consist of Hassan and, oh, I don't know. Who else is there that hasn't been. Who else is there that isn't a fucking sex pest? I don't know. I just know about Hassan. Streaming is not my thing. There's Squidalier, but he's left less like political commentary and more chill zone. We do not need a funding apparatus, as I said before. Rather, what we need to do, and this is something else I wanted to comment on, right? So I live in Springfield. I live in Springfield, Illinois. And there have been numerous problems here in Springfield that have been solved with just people power. The big one, the most important one that you might be familiar with if you've watched the news for any length of time, there was a woman named Sonia Massey in the southern part of the city. Well, not technically in the city, but I'm not going to quibble over that. There was a woman named Sonia Massey who was living in the southern part of the city who called the police, and the police entered her home and, to quote one of the officers, fucking shot her right in her fucking face. I need to stress, the officer, I can't remember his name. Darren Wilson is the guy who shot someone else. Sean Gregory. Sean Gregory is Ward 2 councilman. I'm gonna look that up real quick. Transition out of that. Wrong one. Wrong one. Wrong one. He's in prison right now. Well, not prison. Sean Grayson, that's his name. Okay, so one of the major things that major inciting thing that happened here in Springfield. Hold on. South Dakota. Okay, so Sonia Massey, Sean Grayson shot Sean Grayson told Sonia. I watched the body cam footage like 50 times. I was preparing to make a video going through what happened in the body cam footage, but I decided against it. Sean Grayson looked at Sonia Massey, told her he was going to fucking shoot her right in the fucking face. Those are the words he used in the order he used them, and then he fucking shot her right in the fucking face. Right underneath her eye, I'm to understand. And then he refused to render medical aid and prevented his partner from doing so. He went out to get his med pack as the paramedics arrived, and when they arrived, he said, "I'm not even going to bother." It, it is the single most egregious act of police aggression I have ever seen in my life. Consequently, it got people activated in and around Springfield. And we not only was Grayson arrested, but like there were rallies 2 or 3 times a day in front of the county building. That you can later on I might go over it and talk about it. I'd need to do some more prep for that, but that's not the point. We have people in Springfield who are activated. We have people in Springfield, a large number of people who want to change things and are doing things. It's just a matter of pressure does work. Let me give you an example. So there was this Supreme Court ruling. I think I need to look that up too. Give me just a sec. Grants Pass v. Johnson. It was Grants Pass v. Johnson. Actually going. No, I'm not. Yes, I am. I want to quote them. Okay, so. Grants Pass v. Johnson basically makes being unhoused illegal. This article is from endhomelessness.org, the National Alliance to End Homelessness. You can see that on the screen right there. It's a very short article. We're not going to go over it. This is just a source. But yeah, it basically, the Grants Pass decision essentially makes being homeless illegal. In Springfield, a couple of unhoused people, got ran over by a psychopath. And the city council responded to that by trying to pass this ordinance locally. And the series of dominoes that fell over was at first the local, I think it was a Sierra Club, because it was someone affiliated with the Sierra Club, found out about this and got very, very angry. Then the person from that activist from the Sierra Club told a handful of people about this. Said, hey, we need to show up in City Hall and tell the city council to fuck themselves. Then that person, one of the people, who that person told, they told me too, was a woman named Tiara Standage. Tiara Standage organized most of the rallies uh, about Sonia Massey, at least here in Springfield. She found out about it, and she got overwhelmingly angry and activated the people that she knew. And members of the city council, especially the one member of the city council who had proposed this ordinance, received so much harassment online that they were openly weeping in City Hall. That was our Ward 5 alderwoman, Lakeisha Purchase. Like, people are still mad at her about that. And I'm not saying that they shouldn't be, but, like, it's complicated. As best I can tell, the model legislation that they proposed came from, like, 3 different pipelines, and nobody looked at it. Except maybe the mayor who was trying to... Our mayor is terrible. But the point is, we pushed and we pushed and we pushed and we pushed, and that didn't go through. There are other instances too. There was an officer who was recently disciplined after, like, running over a man on a motorcycle. A man and a woman on a motorcycle. I don't recall their names. And people are still mad about that because he was only given a slap on the wrist. This Tuesday, which City Council meets on Tuesdays here in Springfield. I'm looking at the chat, which is to say I'm mostly looking at Sandra. It's supposed to show up over here on this screen, but it's not. I'm going to have to work those kinks out. But my point is, here in Springfield, people are activated, right? People want change. It's just a matter of centralizing those people. And we don't win by doing what the capitalists are doing, but better. We definitionally can't do that. That's... You might as well say that the moon is made out of cheese, if that's what you're proposing. We do put pressure on these people. We do tell them that they're either going to do what we say or we're going to harass them until they vacate their office. And they do vacate their offices. The sheriff of Sangamon County, the person who was directly in command of Sean Grayson when he fucking shot Sonia Massey right in the fucking face, he resigned. He resigned last year. Literally minutes, I'm to understand. He looked at the crowd that was there to tell him to go. There was a county board meeting, which is separate from city hall meetings. They were meeting at the Bank of Springfield Center, which is a big theater, a big auditorium. And he looked at how many people were there. Dozens of people were there to specifically tell him to go fuck himself. This is the sheriff, a guy named Jack Campbell, the former sheriff, a guy named Jack Campbell, were specifically there to tell him to go fuck himself. And he was like, I'm not going to put up with this. I resign. And he resigned, handed in a paper, and let the county board deal with it in as snide a way as is humanly possible. The pettiness of it would be hilarious if he wasn't such an overwhelming piece of shit. And so that's something we did. And we pressured the county board into funding a committee of people in the community to figure out how the hell it got to a point where one guy thinks it's appropriate to shoot someone in the face who called for help. Like, literally, Sonia Massey had called the police for aid because she thought she was being stalked. There's some... Like, the Sonia Massey Commission is another thing entirely. I'm not going to talk about that right now, but, like, that's something that got done. They're not getting listened to very much, but there are extenuating circumstances surrounding that. The Massey Commission specifically asked for the federal government to investigate the Sean Grayson shooting, the shooting of Sonia Massey, and they started to, and then Trump told them to stop. And that sucks. I'm going to go back to the top here so that you can see, so that new people who are. Yes, I got it fixed. Um, but yeah, the article we were looking at is The Right Builds Power, the Left Hosts Rallies. And that's why we lose. And I disagree with this very strongly. We. Like, throughout the whole thing, Corbin Trent here talks about needing an alternative to the far right. And he's not wrong about that. But his alternative is doing the same thing, but more. And that's not how that works. That is not even remotely how any of that works. You can build power structures. You can build people. You can have enormous amounts of people. The problem that we're having, the problem that we're going to keep having until like it boils over, is that people who are activated are just milling around. Milling around in the sense that, like, yeah, people are going to rallies, people are going to marches and protests and stuff, but that's not. They're not going to the places where they would need to be listened to. This is something that I've. My local Indivisible chapter. This is something that I've gotten upset at them about. We need to be getting into these people's faces. We need to be getting into lawmakers' faces and telling them we are fucking enraged. Like, on a scale from 1 to 10, we're at a 12. Like, that's where the culture is. We're at a 12. To borrow a phrase. And when people see that, when lawmakers see that, that provokes change. So, like, right now, there are several events that are going on that are intended to demonstrate that. Like, I've heard of a couple of, there are specific, for Congress people, local Congress people, including the white supremacist Mary Miller, who makes me mad every time I think about her. Um, they're hosting things for them in absentia. Like, people are inviting congressmen to go to these events with the expectation that they won't show up. And when they don't show up, they get together, they collaborate, they figure out what their next steps are. And that is the key. There needs to be a next step. You can't just get together and yell at people. There needs to be a next step. Where are you going to go next? What are you going to do next? Are you going to... We need to be shutting places down. The county GOP office is not 5 blocks from where I live. If you had 10 people, you could shut it down for a whole day. 5 people go in and cause a ruckus, or just say, hey, we don't approve of what you sons of bitches are doing. We're going to have a sit-in. Call the cops. And that'd be fine because, here in Illinois, we don't have bail anymore. As you will remember, Newsweek reported, Illinois is a lawless hellscape where the dead clutter the streets like so much useless trash. We don't have laws in Illinois anymore because of the safety law. All crime was made legal. So we can do that here in Illinois. In other places, that's not as safe, but it's something that could be done. instead but instead of just saying, "Oh, we're mad," we need to tell them we're mad in such a way that it disrupts their operations. All of these Congress people have offices. All of these Congress people have people who are giving them money. We need to find those offices and shut them down. We need to find the people who are giving them money, donors, whether they be corporations or individuals, and we need to shut them down in some capacity. This is something that I've been saying for years. This is something Indivisible used to say. I don't know that they're saying it so much anymore. But, like, we win because we have people. And you can't replace people. When you have the people, you'll win. Because that's where the culture is. Uh, let me look at the chat here. Sandra leaving a lot of comments. I just want to point out, Tiara Standage is great. She has, I don't know how she would describe it, but I would describe it as an unhoused outreach center called Intricate Minds. And that's something that's very close to her, for a lot of reasons. I'm not her, so I'm not going to go into it, although she's spoken about it publicly. But yeah, Tiara is incredible. Hooligan comedy. Yeah. I tried to stream. What happened, for anyone curious, is I tried to set up a stream earlier, but I set it up in such a way that it would be directly feeding in from the webcam. That's not. No, I'm using. Let me do the transition since I'm not talking about this article anymore. I'm using OBS right now, and uh, that's my train of thought. Yeah, I'm using OBS, and I needed to stream from OBS directly, which that's what I'm doing now. There's someone here named Johnny Albert. I don't recognize you, but it's good to see anyone. Like I said in the description, you can. This article that I was talking about should be in the description. So my plan for the next I'm gonna get off the stream in a couple of minutes, but my plan is to start streaming every day, starting at well, every day except Tuesday. City councils are Tuesdays, and I have obligations. I need to be at city council. Um, but Mondays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, I'm going to be streaming, and I'm going to be going over news articles. Uh, Basically the same thing people like Tim Pool and the Quartering do, but from the left. News aggregating. I'm going to be going over stuff from like the AP, and every day I'm going to be going over whatever breaking news I think is important. AP stuff, Reuters stuff, and a couple of other places. 404 Media is a place that I found that seems to be fairly consistently like have their head on their shoulders. They're tech oriented, uh, and different on different days. There's going to be different stuff going on, but yeah, there's some things that I still need to set up. Like I said, I said this in the beginning of the stream. I want to set up. Still need to take some pictures to make some fancy transitions. I have a video recorded that I want to put as like a background. It's a back. It's smoke wafting up from this thing, my censure. It is very difficult to see. I had that thing for years, but I have a tone and I have a bunch of stuff set up. I've been looking up how to use OBS and how to use OBS efficiently for a while, and yeah, those are my plans. And long time lurker. I understand. I also lurk. I try not to say things unless I have something important to say. Just because, like, other people will say things better sometimes, most of the time. I've been rambling, but yeah. Um, I'm gonna be back here tomorrow around 10 o'clock, hopefully. 10 o'clock p.m., not a.m. I have. I sleep during the day. I'm that weirdo. That's just more comfortable for me. So, yeah. Um, what did I decide I was going to be doing on Mondays? Oh, tomorrow is major journalism stuff. So that's ProPublica, The Lever, Truth Out, stuff like that. Major journalist articles. I'll probably pick one or two. And I'm going to go over this before I go to set up that stuff and see what needs improving, what doesn't need improving. Um, I like this bookshelf. I like this bookshelf here. Fun fact: I built this. I had a stack of books on this speaker, big stack of books. I had to build a bookshelf. I built this because it kept falling over. The book stack kept falling over. But uh I'm just rambling at this point. Okay, so until tomorrow, around 10 p.m. Uh, go outside, take care of yourselves. Okay, do something important. Oh no, people have just joined and I'm going to stop the stream. That's terrible. Tune in tomorrow, 10 p.m. ish. Still working out some kinks, but it's solid enough, I think, that I feel comfortable doing this more often. And invite people to watch it. They, they, oh, I'm going to stop.